joining us on the phone right now, not only is it Ross Owen, the producer of the Band of Brothers interviews, but we also have with us the lovely, the talented, the man you've been waiting on, Richard Speight Jr. Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Well, I can't imagine you could be doing any worse. I think you and Cudlitz have a running game of who can do the most work in the last 10 years.
Well, I think he might be winning right now, but we're definitely not competing for the same roles.
No,
it never comes down between me and Mike. You know what I mean? People don't see me and run screaming into the night. Yeah. I don't instill fear, and Mike kind of does. He's a large cat.
Yeah, he is a large North American land mammal. So let's talk Band of Brothers. It's been 10 years since you played the immortal Sergeant Warren Skip Muck. Were you prepared for the boot camp?
Well, no. I mean, I knew that Captain Dale Dye, is legendary. So when I got the job, I knew that Captain Dale Dye was doing the boot camp. The first thing we got after we got hired is we got letters from Captain Dye written as if it were 1941 saying, or 1943, saying, you will be enlisted, you will be going to this, reporting to this base, and you need to bring 2 green towels. And it was written as if it was in the period and we were reporting to duty. And you knew right out of the gate it was not going to be a walk in the park. And not only that, but his reputation preceded him. His work with Oliver Stone and his work with Spielberg and the previous war films were, the talk of the town for years. So when you knew you were doing a Dale Dye boot camp, you knew to hit the gym, as it were. So I did my best to get in shape for it. But as far as really ready for it, I don't know if there is really getting ready for a Dale Dye boot camp until you're immersed in the madness.
Now, how old were you when you went to boot camp?
29.
Okay, 29? So you weren't one of the younger kids. You were more Mike's age, the upper 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
He actually brought up the point that it's like, dude, I'm 35. You're gonna start yelling at me like a DI, really?
There's a reason why they don't draft guys that age.
Yeah,
they're already surly and they have their bad habits pretty well nailed down.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to enlist right now.
Please, I would be immediately trying to requisition insoles. And nobody. But it was interesting because I was like, I played high school football, but I've never been called so many swear words in my life in a shorter period of time than in boot camp. And the weird thing is, you try to explain it to people, and look, anybody who served in the military, this was not the military. So for them, it's a cartoon. But for everybody else, it's exceptionally challenging because you're just not used to that world. And we were also all getting to know each other by our character names. So it was a long time before I ever called anybody by their actual name or before I even knew their actual name. I still call Shifty. I mean, I have a hard time calling him Peter because that doesn't fit him. There's certain guys that you got to know them as their character. That's how we knew each other, and by our rank. And it took a long time to shake that off. And I'll tell you, it was very, very frustrating for the girlfriends and wives who come to visit because periodically, if they visited the first week, you'd be like, honey, this is my good friend, Sergeant Luz. And then the next time it's like, well, this is George Luz. The next time it's like, this is George Gomez. This is Rick Luz. This is Rick Gomez Luz, Sergeant Gomez. I mean, it became a mess. 9 months into the thing, nobody knew who the hell anybody else was. But boot camp was this initiation by fire where we just sort of all got to know each other by rank and character name. And it was very intimidating because you didn't really know who you were. You're still trying to figure out your guy and your backstory, and do your homework at the same time. So, and you're getting yelled at, and you're physically challenging yourself, mentally challenging yourself, and it was a very taxing but awesome experience.
Well, I have a quick detour question here from the chat room. Caitlin Hunt wants to know what position did you play in high school football? She apparently thinks you're tiny.
Well,
she asked if you were the kicker.
There were several people on my football team who would echo her thoughts. I played strong safety,
Oh.
Now that doesn't mean I started at strong safety, but I played football from 5th grade to 12th grade. I love the sport.
Oh, cool.
So I was fleet of foot and willing to hit things. Not so much on the catching. They didn't have me on the offense. I was just more of the bowling ball who would run into walls.
The wedge buster.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the position well. Jen, let me see. Where's my question? Oh yeah, Jenny Lehman wants to know if you have any funny stories from boot camp, and would you be able to do your sock puppet Dale Dye impersonation for us?
Well, I know that the sock puppet Dale Dye imitation. I got outed on Ron Livingston Video Diaries, which then made it to the DVD box set. Here's the thing about making fun of Captain Dye. You don't want to do it to Captain Dye. It's a bad idea. And by the way, the Captain Dye sock puppet bit doesn't really work on the radio. It's more of a visual thing. So I think I have to tell you, I may not be able to give her the full-on imitation of Captain Dye. Did you get Mike Cudlitz to do his Captain Dye, by the way?
Oh, yes.
Because it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So to follow, Cudlitz with a Dale Dye imitation is really, it's like playing ukulele after the Stones. It's a bad idea. Yeah. But I will say, I do recall there were several funny things that happened in boot camp. But I remember one particular conversation I was having. So Scott Grimes played malarkey. He and I spent every waking moment together in boot camp. We played best friends, and we bonked next to each other and spent a ton of time together. At one point during boot camp, Neal McDonough, who played Compton, got his lip cut open or his face cut open somehow by a muzzle blast went off too close to him, and so he went and got sewn up, and somebody else twisted an ankle, and so reports are getting back to production. I guess I actually think that Neal's injury didn't get reported back to production, but a couple other ones had, and so production was coming down on Captain Dye, saying, "Look, work him hard, but don't kill him. We got to shoot a movie. So go easy on him." Well, that didn't sit well. That's not part of Captain Dye's thing. Go easy on him is not part of his repertoire. So he came back to the group, the whole battalion, as a Royal Company, and we were standing around in formation, and he's tearing into the whole thing. He's like, "Look, you weenies, if you bump your head, if you stub your toe, don't go reporting it. You're getting us in trouble. They're gonna pull you out of boot camp. We got to get this thing going. They keep yelling at me. They keep giving me a hard time." And for anybody who knows military speak, he's referring to HQ, which is really the production office, headquarters. He's calling it the rear, because back in the old days, the leaders stayed in the rear of the fight.
Right.
The grunts are in the front and the leaders in the back. So any messages are coming from the back, they're coming from the rear. So he kept using that terminology. He's saying, "Wow, the rear is getting all over us, and the rear is breathing down my neck about you guys, and you guys getting hurt, and I don't want the rear to close us down." And he's going on, and I lean over to Scott and I go, "Man, Captain Dye's really getting it from the rear." And I didn't mean it that way. And Scott and I looked at each other, we're going to laugh in the middle of a debriefing with Captain Dye screaming at us. This is going to be a terrible, terrible event. Fortunately, we held it together, but I still recall that being one of the funniest moments, because I said it, and the second I said it, I said, "Hey, that's not what I meant." And Scott looked at me, and he knew that's not what I meant, but he also knew what it sounded like, and so, personally, that's one of my favorites.
Excellent. That's awesome.